The West Virginia Mountaineer football team loses their outside linebackers and edge rushing specialists to the SEC. Well, no problem, because they go out and get another edge rusher coach or defensive end coach with SEC experience to replace Larry Knight. We're going to talk about that in this episode of Couz Corner. We're also going to talk about an in-state prospect who may get taken away by a fellow Big 12 team. And last but not least, some plans in the works for the West Virginia Athletic Department that could help earn them more revenue. We're going to talk about all three of those things in this episode of Couz Corner, so stick around and we'll have that conversation right now. What is up, and welcome into this episode of Couz Corner, your home for top shelf college sports news and analysis surrounding the West Virginia Mountaineers, and sometimes we'll throw in a little talk about the Big 12. West Virginia, a couple of weeks ago, it was announced that Larry Knight, the newly hired Larry Knight, who was their edge rush specialist and outside linebackers coach, was leaving West Virginia after officially only being on staff a month to go coach in the SEC, to go coach the Georgia Bulldogs from his home state. Kind of understandable. You get an opportunity to go back to your home state, probably make more money. You probably have to take advantage of that situation. It was very disappointing because he had just gotten here. A little bit of concern about who they'd bring in to replace him. Well, I'm less concerned today because they went out and got themselves a guy. They went out and got themselves someone by the name of Deke Adams. Deke Adams is coming to West Virginia after spending the last 4 seasons at Arkansas, coaching under Sam Pittman as a defensive ends coach. Very, very experienced guy. Even more experienced than Larry Knight. Now, is he a better coach than Larry Knight? I'm not sure. We will find out. But he is very experienced. He started his college coaching career in 1997 and has basically coached D-line or defensive ends or something for most of, if not all of his career. And he has coached at multiple P4 jobs, including several in the SEC. His first P4 job was in 2012 when he coached at the University of North Carolina under Larry Fedora. He actually had a second stop at North Carolina under Fedora in the 2017 and 2018 seasons. But he's also coached at South Carolina, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and more recently Arkansas, are all of the SEC schools he coached at. He also coached at Florida International, East Carolina, Southern Miss, and University of Louisiana Monroe. And when you look at the head coaches he's coached under, a very, very pretty cool list here. Obviously, Sam Pittman at Arkansas. He just recently coached under for 4 years. I mentioned Larry Fedora, a very experienced coach who spent time at North Carolina. He's coached under Lane Kiffin for 1 year at Ole Miss. Yeah, he coached under Joe Moorhead at Mississippi State. And he spent time under the legend, Steve Spurrier, at South Carolina, where he also, by the way, coached, guess who? Jadeveon Clowney. That's right. He mentored and coached Jadeveon Clowney, a former number 1 NFL draft pick. He's also put several other guys in the NFL. And when you look back at what some of the local media folks who cover Arkansas have to say, they say he is an elite relationship builder. He's great at building relationships with recruits, with his players. And what I like the best about this hire is his extensive experience coaching in the southeastern part of the United States, a part of the country where West Virginia is trying to make a bigger splash recruiting. Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Georgia, Alabama, those areas. He has recruited those areas most of his career, coached a lot of players out of that area. Obviously, if you've been in the coaching business since 1997, you have developed a lot of relationships over that time. So I'm excited to the guy who can come in with an SEC pedigree, a ton of experience, has coached some very good players. He knows what he knows what an NFL caliber player looks like because he's coached several of them, including one of the best defensive players, arguably one of the best all-time defensive players in college football, in Jadeveon Clowney. Now, a lot of people are going to say, because I've got this on past videos about past coaches, Couz, why did he hop around to so many schools? There's a legitimate explanation for that. A lot of times you go to a school, it's the same thing with Sam Pittman at Arkansas. Sam Pittman gets fired. The new coach, they hire an interim coach in the middle of the season. Happened to be Bobby Petrino in this case. He comes in, wipes out the whole staff, brings in a whole new staff. When coaches take new jobs, they typically bring their own staff with them. It's very rare that they retain former members of the previous staff. So he's went to jobs and would be there a year or two, and the head coach that hired him would get fired. And I know, well, he must not have been a very good coach. Guys, he coaches one position. His positions, for the most part, have been successful. Now, last year, Arkansas didn't do a great job stopping the run, and their defensive line had some struggles. But again, how much of that is on him? Because in previous years, they were really good. It takes more than one position room to make a successful football team. So I have confidence that Deke Adams is going to come in, recruit hard, recruit well, recruit really talented guys. As a matter of fact, maybe who knows, maybe there are some guys he had recruited to Arkansas who might enter the portal after the 2026 season and come to Morgantown to join him. Who knows? But the bottom line is Deke Adams brings a ton of experience to West Virginia, to Morgantown, and a very good coaching pedigree, and I think it's a good hire. Anytime you can pluck a coach out of the SEC who has spent that much of his career coaching against SEC talent, I think it's a good thing because he's going to know what it takes to develop good players, and he's going to know what it takes to win. So let me know your thoughts in the comments about Deke Adams coming to West Virginia to replace the departed Larry Knight. Now, the next topic, West Virginia has an in-state talent right here in my hometown at Princeton Senior High School. He's listed as one of the top, might be the top recruit in the state for the 2027 class. He's definitely one of the top recruits for the 2027 class. His name is Landyn Moore. He's an offensive lineman recruit, again, out of Princeton Senior High School. He has visited Morgantown on 2 separate occasions. He went back for this. He was there for this past season's junior day, and he also attended the Pitt game earlier this year. And now it's my understanding he has yet to be offered by West Virginia, but he has visited the campus a couple different times. I mean, you go to this article over at WV Sports Chat from July of last year. So it was a 2025 high school football season on the horizon. Prep Red Zone West Virginia has delivered a timely gift to fans and scouts alike. Among the 100 rising juniors evaluated, Princeton High School offensive lineman Landyn Moore has emerged as the state's #1 prospect. So the #1 prospect in the state of West Virginia, right? There's only a slight problem. West Virginia hasn't offered him yet, but guess who has? A Big 12 opponent, Oklahoma State, just offered Landyn Moore. I'm doing this video on Tuesday, February the 24th. He received this offer late Monday evening. Landyn Moore stands 6'5", weighs 290 pounds. So he's a big young man. He has the size to play at the P4 level. And I've witnessed this young man play myself. He's a very talented football player. So far, the only other D1 offer he has received outside of Oklahoma State has been Marshall. So, you know, I don't know why West Virginia hasn't offered him. I'm sure there's a reason, but they haven't after 2 visits. Not sure if either of them were official visits or not, but like I said, he did attend junior day and he did attend that large group of players who attended the Pitt game. He was part of that group. He was actually offered by Marshall back in September of 25. So Oklahoma State sees something in this young man that I don't know if Coach Rod hasn't seen it yet, or maybe they feel like, I don't know. Maybe there's a secret offer out there we don't know about. Maybe they were waiting till later to offer. You know, there could be a million different reasons. But nonetheless, Oklahoma State has offered this in-state kid, in-state young man who is a very talented player and is receiving, I expect, now that Oklahoma State has offered him, you will start seeing more offers roll in, potentially even from West Virginia. But this was surprising because, you know, if Virginia Tech offered him, wouldn't be a surprise. If Pitt offered him, it wouldn't be a surprise. Penn State, because of the regionality of it, right? North Carolina even, or Virginia maybe. But the fact that he's getting offered by Oklahoma State, what's that tell you? Oklahoma State's recruiting, they're recruiting nationwide. because they have found this kid right here in southern West Virginia, and they think he's worth an offer. I would love to see West Virginia come in with an offer now as well, but Oklahoma State now seems to be getting ahead of West Virginia for this in-state talent. But nonetheless, we'll see where things go in his recruitment. Will the Mountaineers eventually offer him? And if they do, will he choose the Mountaineers? Will other Power 4 schools? Because remember, he is a junior. He'll be going in his senior year, so he has one more year of high school ball to play before he can play the college ball. So, but I expect his recruitment will likely intensify and pick up now that he's received his first P4 offer, and more schools will follow. But keep an eye on this. We'll try to keep you updated over at wvsportschat.com as we get more on this young man and more on this story. The West Virginia University Board of Governors are now the proud owners of a hotel. That hotel was purchased by Gold and Blue Enterprises, the business arm that was set up inside the athletic department to handle rev sharing and help facilitate NIL deals. They purchased a hotel called the M Hotel, or Hotel M, I think it's called. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and pull up an article on this from the Dominion Post that was written back just a few days ago, February the 6th. It says Golden Blue Enterprises buys Hotel M property for $3.975 million. Golden Blue Enterprises, the nonprofit fundraising arm of WVU Athletics, purchased the former Hotel M property at 1400 Saratoga Avenue in Star City, which is right on the outskirts of Morgantown. Michael Fergel, Director of Communications with WVU Athletics, said the purchase was completed on January 30th. Ownership has since been transferred to the WVU Board of Governors. Here's a quote from Fergel. He said, WVU have not finalized plans for the property at this time. Its strategic location next to Hope Coliseum provides the opportunity for future growth and benefit to WVU and the community. Says the property is 3 parcels totaling 2.88 acres, was purchased at auction for $3.975 million, or just over $1.38 million per acre. Talks about the auction realty company that handled it. Property had been on the market, I guess, for quite a while, but it was just listed with this auction company, realty and auction company, in October of 25, and of course sold in January. This was a very successful transaction for everyone involved. I would like to thank all the parties for their professionalism in getting this deal across the finish line, including the law firms of Steptoe & Johnson and Bowles Rice LLP, Gouda said. Gouda is the owner of the auction and realty company. Also, we were fortunate to have worked with Golden Blue Inc. and their team. We know that this property has a bright future and wish them the very best. And it goes on and talks about Golden Blue Enterprises. I won't bore you with the rest of that. But here are my thoughts on this and what could this be used for? This property in and of itself, if this is all they plan to buy, I could see a couple different uses for this. The one that makes the most sense to me is, all right, we already know that West Virginia has set up or partnered with a travel firm to set up Mountaineer Travel. It's a travel site where you can go and book your travel plans, and every trip that's booked on that site, the WVU Athletic Department gets a cut of the revenue. Okay, I could see where maybe they partner somehow with that Mountaineer Travel and have a hotel, an extra hotel space potentially for fans to use when they come into town for games, and that the athletic department could earn revenue from each room that's booked. I could see something like that happening. And I'm sure, on game days, hotels are very expensive in and around Morgantown. So I'm sure they could make decent money on that, especially for basketball games. Man, people staying right down the street from the Coliseum. Could they tear the hotel down and make it a parking lot? Have additional parking for basketball and even football games? Could they, could they open it up and use it as a place for players visiting teams to stay? To me, I don't know how that makes any sense, because I don't see where that really earns West Virginia any money unless the school pays the school, unless the school is, well, I guess they would charge the other school or the other athletic department for that. But nonetheless, you get my point. A couple different uses for that. Now, one thing Mike and Chris Anderson talked about on their podcast that I see as probably a more likely scenario, I kind of agree with Mike on this. I could see them setting up some kind of village, like some kind of game day village type thing where you actually have shopping and dining and everything all in one place where fans can attend on game days and heck, even on non-game days. But the university, or more specifically the athletic department, Golden Blue Enterprises in this case, could potentially profit from everything. They would own it, so they make all the profit. And then obviously that money would go towards facilities, revenue sharing, whatever they need to go to. Now, in order to do that, they will likely have to buy other properties because I don't think 2.88 acres would be enough for that type of development. But there are a couple other businesses in and around there that I think there's a pizza place that Mike talked about, and there's also, I don't know, there's some other businesses in the area they could potentially buy and that are adjacent to the hotel property, and they could form some kind of like village type environment. I see that as another likely scenario, but whether they do that or they do the, the school owning a hotel, I think either one of those could potentially be money makers. Now the hotel it's old and it would probably need updating, but they could invest the money to do that potentially. They claim they don't have immediate plans for the property, but I bet you they had some kind of an idea what they wanted to do with it. Why else make the purchase? Why would you spend 3.975 million to buy a hotel if you didn't have an idea what you wanted to do with it? I just don't see that. I just don't see that happening. Maybe they don't want to announce those plans yet. Maybe they can't finalize them because they have a lot more steps to go through. Or maybe they just said, you know what, this is a valuable property. We can find a use for it. Maybe they felt like the asking price was worth it. Let's go do it. Let's go set this up, make this purchase, and then we figure out what to do with it at a later date. I personally don't see that as making a lot of sense, but again, I'm not a realtor, and I'm not part of Golden Blue Enterprises, and I don't know all the inner workings of what they're looking at and what they're seeing in this property. So I just thought that was something that I didn't know how many of you knew about that. It was something that I found interesting. We've seen all kinds of partnerships with Swilled Dog Bourbon and Planet Fitness and Hope, obviously Hope Gas for the Hope Coliseum naming rights, and there are probably other naming rights deals coming from Mountaineer Field potentially down the road. All of these other, a mulch company, all of these other partnerships and relationships, Mountaineer Travel, for example. This is just one more step, one more thing that Ren Baker and his team have done to help increase revenue for West Virginia University athletics, for WVU football, for WVU basketball, for WVU sports as a whole. And I think it's an absolutely great move, assuming, now, maybe I should hold out judgment on it and see what they do with it before I say it's a great move, but it is an outside-the-box move. And we have heard, now back to the village thing, we've heard a lot of other schools, like Iowa State, for example, I think is one of them, who have talked about doing, buying property or using property they already have to set up one of these village-type places. So why would West Virginia not do something similar with this property? To me, that makes the most sense of any of these scenarios. Either that or straight up renting out hotel rooms to people and profiting off of it. Those are the only two scenarios I see making a ton of sense. But you let me know what you think they're going to do with it. Or do you have inside connections and maybe you know what they're going to do with it? Let me know in the comment section. I would love to hear your thoughts. I want to remind you that you can support the show financially by becoming a paid VIP member like the folks scrolling along your screen now. Folks like Chris D., Henry S. Scalitz, Virgil Milburn, Jill Rowling, and David Cummings. They are all paid VIP members here on the channel. You can become a paid VIP member and become part of the random shout-outs as well by hitting the join button right below the video. There are two levels I offer. A $4.99 level gets you a couple extra perks. And then the $2.99 a month level, you get the shout-out, random shout-outs, and you get first priority in live stream chats. You can also support me for free by hitting the thumbs up button. There are a couple quizzes below. Go to the comment section. You can swipe left, get you to a couple quizzes that I'll add to the video. You can answer those quizzes, test your knowledge of this show, and test your knowledge of West Virginia Mountaineer sports. That will help the YouTube algorithm. There's a hype button you can hit if you're watching this on your mobile device. between download and thanks. You can hit that. It's another way to help me out. But the biggest way is just liking the video, watching the video. If you've watched it all the way this far, I appreciate it. Watching it all the way to the end really helps us out. If you're listening to this on podcast platforms, give us a 5-star review. Follow us. All of that helps us out as well. I want to thank the 365 Sports Network for allowing me to be a part of their family. Go check out all their other shows. I really appreciate you tuning into this episode. Hope the rest of your day's top shelf. God bless you, and Q Country Roads.